If you've seen our previous videos, we got home from Southeast Asia in September of 2019, about 4 months before the COVID lockdowns. And we spent a lot of the pandemic researching potential destinations. After 26 months, we were finally able to get back out there. Being that there were still COVID restrictions in place, the logistics were a bit trickier than usual, but eventually one country rose to the top as desirable, affordable, and obtainable. It also held the distinction of being on both of our wish lists for many years. So, let's spin the globe from California to Jordan. Officially, the Hashemite Kingdom of Jordan. Perched on the eastern bank of the Jordan River, bordered by the West Bank, Israel, Syria, Iraq, and Saudi Arabia. We've already posted 2 videos to kick off this series. The first is kind of a primer or introduction to Jordan. You might want to hit pause and open a new tab to watch that one before we go any further. Go ahead, I'll wait. The other is a short video about taking a drone to Jordan. If you have any plans in that regard, I highly recommend checking out that video. This one, as the title suggests, focuses on the capital city of Amman. The trip from California to Jordan holds some stories I'm dying to tell you guys, but we've decided to save those for another series, working titled as, yeah, so that shit happened. Queen Rania International Airport is kinda out in the desert, as you can see. It's around 45-minute drive to Amman, which we made via a cab we booked online. Our driver was Muhammad I. Now, if you've ever been to a Muslim country, you'll understand why I'm calling him that. In many Muslim families, it's traditional to name the firstborn son after the Prophet, making it the most popular name in the world. It's estimated that there are at least 150 million Muhammads walking the planet at this very moment. As a result, it feels like every other man you meet in Jordan is named Muhammad. We don't often ask for surnames, so I've been forced to number them. Muhammad I was an opinionated guy. He wanted us to know, among many other things, that we were staying in the poor part of town. I guess we were supposed to be put off by that, but I'm not really sure. The earliest evidence of human settlement in Amman dates to nearly 10,000 years ago, during the Neolithic period. We stayed in what Jordanians refer to as downtown, which in this case does not refer to the central part of the modern metro district. Wendy and I refer to the area where we stayed as East Amman, since they built the modern city to the west of the ancient one. The metro area didn't interest us much, to be honest. America is chock full of street grids and glass skyscrapers. Why fly across the planet just for more of that? We chose Layali Amman Hotel for 2 reasons. First, it fit our budget, and possibly more important, it's located across the street from the Roman Theater. That, my friends, is a 1900-year-old Roman amphitheater with seating for 6,000 people. I knew it was there before we even got on the plane, but I was still giddy as a kid on Christmas. We arrived late afternoon. Once we got settled, we decided to find a currency exchange. We usually exchange currency at the airport, but for a couple of reasons that didn't work out this time. Stay tuned for That Shit Happened to learn why. It's also worth mentioning that we arrived on Friday, which in Jordan is like Saturday here in the States. So there are more street vendors operating and a lot more people out and about than during the week. Anyway, we walked up to the exchange, and I knew there was a souk nearby. I'd seen it on the map, so I wanted to check that out too. Wendy wasn't too excited about heading down this alley at first, but just look at what we found. Produce of every kind and type, clean, well lit, and much quieter than the street just yards away. Not unlike a farmer's market here on the Central Coast. Jordan is a very safe country for visitors. Tourism is a huge part of their economy, and they were hurting just as much as the rest of us after 2 years of lockdowns. The indigenous people of Jordan, the Bedouins, are renowned for their welcoming nature. More on that later in this series. In this video of us walking through downtown during the evening, there are plenty of shopkeepers saying, "Welcome to Jordan," or just "Welcome." and very few of them are being pushy or trying to hard sell the tourists. Jordan is easily the most liberal Muslim country in the Middle East. Women aren't required to wear the veil, or hijab, in Jordan. As a matter of fact, Queen Rania, who was born in Kuwait to Palestinian parents, has never worn the hijab. While many Jordanian women, especially from older generations, do choose to wear it, there are plenty of young women who don't. Non-traditional clothing is also very popular and completely permitted by the government. We saw plenty of young women walking around wearing jeans with their hair uncovered. One of the first things Wendy mentions when people ask about our trip is that she never felt unsafe in Amman, or anywhere in Jordan for that matter. Jordanians as a rule are highly educated. In recent years, women are staying in school longer than men and therefore getting higher degrees. Waking up on our first full day in Jordan was a striking contrast to the noise and chaos of the previous afternoon and evening. Saturday began with the included breakfast at Layali, which was served mezza style, which is common throughout the Mediterranean and the Middle East. Essentially, they put out an assortment of hot and cold food that you serve yourself, buffet style. Mostly bite-sized foods, dips like hummus and baba ganoush, hard-boiled eggs, cucumbers, olives, yogurt, so on. And this is where we first encountered labneh, which we're both now addicted to. I'm going to talk about why in the next episode, since that's where we experience the myriad of ways it can be prepared. There was also coffee and tea available, along with some juices. Well, I should be careful calling it coffee. It's Nescafe, which I honestly didn't know they were still making. If you're not familiar, Nescafe is freeze-dried coffee. Basically, they make coffee the normal way, then they remove the water, which leaves these powdery granules. To use it, you put some of the granules in a cup and add hot water. The main benefit is it never goes bad. The main drawback is that it tastes like shit. In my experience, it takes about 3 days to adjust to Nescafe. I've also come to learn that it's popular all over the world, so you might as well either just deal with it or switch to tea, which there is never a shortage of wherever you go in Jordan. Also, my fellow Americans, be prepared, they serve hard-boiled eggs hot. The earliest evidence of settlement in Amman dates to the 8th millennium BCE at a site known as Ain Ghazal. During the Iron Age, the city was known as Rabat Amman and served as the capital of the Ammonite Kingdom. In the 3rd century BCE, Ptolemy II Philadelphus, pharaoh of Ptolemaic Egypt, rebuilt the city and renamed it Philadelphia. Under the Romans, Philadelphia was one of the 10 cities of the Decapolis. The Rashidun Caliphate conquered the city from the Byzantines in the 7th century AD and restored the name Amman. Then the city was largely abandoned from the 15th century all the way until 1878, when Ottoman authorities began settling Circassians there. Our first foray into the history of Amman was a visit to the Roman theater, which was built between 138 and 161 CE during the rule of Antoninus Pius, considered one of the most peaceful emperors in Roman history. His reign was filled with arts and culture as he encouraged philosophy, fine art, and science. This is a good time to tell you about the Jordan Pass. See, a tourist visa is required for most foreign visitors, which currently costs 40 Jordanian dinar, which is about $56.50 US. If you purchase a Jordan Pass, that visa fee is waived and you get free admission to over 40 attractions in Jordan. So if you were to visit all of them, having a Jordan Pass saves you over $150 US. The Jordan Pass is available in 3 tiers. The only difference is being the number of consecutive days that you can visit Petra. Since we had only set aside 1 day for Petra, we chose the Wanderer tier for 70 dinar, which is just under $100 US. Adding up the admission prices of the sites we visited using our Jordan Passes, plus the cost of a visa, we saved 60 dinar, or nearly $85 each. And we didn't even visit half of the places covered by the pass. So buy your Jordan Passes online when you book your trip. They're valid for 12 months from the date of purchase and will expire 2 weeks after they're first scanned for admission. When we walked over, it was just to check the hours of operation of the theater and have a look at the Hashemite Plaza, which we're walking through here in this footage. So we'd left our Jordan passes at the hotel. Approaching the gate, we were met by the energetically, enthusiastically informative Muhammad II. Luckily, I was rolling video at the time, so you can see how we ended up entering the amphitheater without passes and without paying an admission fee.
You Jordan pass?
Jordan Pass, yes.
Oh, Jordan pass. What Jordan pass?
Oh, okay.
You didn't bring it.
You didn't bring it?
Darn it. Okay.
Our hotel's right there. We
Okay. Jordan pass. Come in.
Oh, thank you.
My name is Muhammad. I am like a guide. I tell him the man, the guard.
Okay. Shukran.
Okay.
Thank you.
My name is Muhammad. I am local guide. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to
I'm Wendy.
Nice name.
Kevin.
Kevin. Nice to meet you.
Same.
Nice to meet you.
I am local guide here.
Okay, great.
Now I give you a nice tour, special tour.
Muhammad then proceeded to give us rapid-fire explanation of some of the facts and figures of the theater, along with a demonstration of its amazing acoustics.
Okay.
I want now together sit here, the same me, and both listen and speak in the tone. I want to go the other side. I take with him, okay?
Okay.
Both listen and speak.
This is gonna be cool because that's how amphitheaters work. So I'm guessing what's gonna happen is his voice is gonna come right around the corner and we're gonna be able to hear him just fine. Hi, fine. How are you?
We're great. Thank you.
Yes, this is great. Okay, be right there.
Okay.
Yalla. That's cool.
Then, he left us to climb around and explore on our own, which is one of the most surprising and exciting things about many of the sites in Jordan. You can really experience them. You're not separated from the site by guardrails and plexiglass. As a matter of fact, this theater is still used regularly for cultural events and concerts, which is why they were retrofitting the stage when we were there. Here's a picture of Wendy on the platform where the king and queen sit during events at the theater. Now, this footage doesn't really do justice to the experience. This joint is steep, you guys, and probably taller than you think. Remember what I said earlier, this place holds up to 6,000 people. For comparison, the largest theater on Broadway, the Gershwin, holds less than 2,000. This place is also a great example of Roman ingenuity. Not only did they use the hill itself as the main structure, it's also oriented so the audience faces north to keep the sun out of their eyes. There are 2 museums at the theater site, housed in the former side entrances at the front of the complex. One is the Museum of Popular Tradition, and the other is the Jordan Folklore Museum. Still not done, he took us next door to the Odeon on the east side of the plaza, a smaller amphitheater with a capacity of about 500. It's thought that the Odeon was most likely closed by a temporary wooden roof that shielded the audience from the weather. As you can see here, the Odeon is also still in regular use. The most difficult aspect of this tour was determining what to pay Muhammad for his time. It would have been smarter to agree to a price up front, but he was very relaxed about the whole thing, assuring us that whatever we felt was fair was fine with him. Before bidding Muhammad farewell, we asked him for walking directions to our next stop, the Citadel, which sits atop one of the 7 hills which formed the original city, much like the 7 hills of Rome. Upon leaving the theater complex, we popped into the hotel to grab our Jordan passes. The biggest help Muhammad gave us was in pointing out which set of steps to take from where we were at the bottom of the hill. One of Amman's nicknames is the City of Stairs, and it's a name that fits. As much time as I had spent going over maps prior to our arrival, I still wasn't prepared for just how vertical the city is. Once we'd climbed that first staircase, though, it wasn't so easy to figure out the best route to the Citadel. The view down on the amphitheater in the southeast quadrant of the city was already pretty great though. Soon, we got really close, but couldn't decide whether to follow the road we were on or climb the busted up section at the bottom of these stairs to reach the top. Just then, a voice out of nowhere joined the conversation.
The rice paddy, so.
Want to go Citadel, my friend, there is better.
This way's better?
You coming here, you have a, there is here kind of illegal way, but it's not the way.
So these stairs are better?
You can go there, I'll show you.
Okay.
There.
Oh, we passed it?
We want to go up here.
Yes.
Yes, okay.
This is the Citadel.
Yes.
But if you continue like this, there is a gate, but it's you long term.
Oh.
But from here, you continue now, and there is stairs. I'll show you the stairs.
Okay.
You go up, and from the stairs, you go left side.
Okay.
When you go left side, automatically the street will go right.
Okay.
Left. The gate.
Perfect.
The gate is there.
Okay.
This is
I can't recall his name, but rather than just give us directions, this guy offered us a free ride to the Citadel. It was only a couple of minutes by car, and he gave us a business card when dropping us off. This act of kindness was also a bit of PR. He was hoping that the next time we needed a ride somewhere, we'd give him a call. And if we'd stayed in Amman longer, we probably would have. We showed our Jordan passes at the gate this time, and this was still early days after borders around the world had started opening up, so there weren't too many visitors that day. As with Amman in general, the Citadel holds evidence of inhabitants since the Neolithic period, and the hill was first fortified during the Bronze Age, becoming the capital of the Kingdom of Amman sometime after 1200 BCE. It later became part of empires such as the Neo-Assyrian Empire, Neo-Babylonian, the Ptolemies, the Seleucids. All of those were in BCE. The Common Era brought the Romans in the 1st century, the Byzantines in the 3rd, and the Umayyads in the 7th century. After the Umayyads, the former city became an abandoned pile of ruins, occasionally used by Bedouins and seasonal farmers. And still, the Citadel of Amman is considered to be one of the world's oldest continuously inhabited places. Archaeologists have been working at the Citadel site since the 1920s, but there's still a lot that hasn't been excavated or studied. The Umayyad Palace, built between 724 and 743 CE, was just the big house of one of the governors of the territory of Jordan during the Umayyad dynasty, and was also used by subsequent occupiers. It's composed of 3 main areas: an open space for gathering people with a large water cistern that supplied water to the baths, latrines, and other areas of the settlement. The second part contains a well-preserved and decorated audience hall built on the foundation of a Byzantine church. The third part consists of 9 independent buildings which represent the central part of the palace and lie mostly in ruins, but whose foundations are clearly visible. The footage of Wendy I used as the hint at the end of the Singapore video is from that last area. It's really great how they allow you to freely roam around and get up close to the ruins. The audience hall is the most significant part of the whole palace. It's one of the most famous archaeological buildings in all of Jordan. It was built by Abdel Malik ibn Marwan to be used as a reception hall where he could meet his expeditions and army leaders. This modern wooden dome was added in 1998 to allow the structure to be used for modern cultural events. South of the palace is the site of the Umayyad Mosque, this large flat area here where you can see signs of the forest of columns that supported the roof. Nearby is the Byzantine church, which was built around 550 CE. Many of the building materials for the church were reused pieces from the nearby Temple of Hercules. According to the inscription, the Temple of Hercules was constructed while Germanus Marcianus was governor of the province of Arabia, and was dedicated to the co-emperors of Rome, Marcus Aurelius and Lucius Verus. It's actually larger than any of the temples in Rome, with a portico surrounded by 6 33-foot tall columns. Seeing that the rest of the temple has no columns, it's believed that the structure was never finished. And during the excavation process, few clues were left, but the ones that did exist were huge. From these 3 gigantic fingers, 1 elbow, and a scattering of coins, Archaeologists have agreed these marble body parts likely belonged to a massive statue of Hercules, which probably toppled during one of the area's catastrophic earthquakes. All except the hand and elbow disappeared. Apparently, the running joke is the rest of Hercules became Amman's countertops. In its original state, the statue would have measured more than 40 feet high, making it among the largest known marble statues ever. This early Bronze Age cave or tomb dates to the 23rd century BC. Tombs like this exist in different places in Amman, and they often hold multiple burials. This cave contains a series of tombs, which were modified for communal burial during the Middle Bronze Age. It was common for such features and structures to be reused for different purposes in different periods of history or by different civilizations. This tomb was cleared and reused during the Umayyad period by stonecutters who were preparing the stones for the massive building projects nearby. The Jordan Archaeological Museum was built at the Citadel in 1951 and contains artifacts from all over the country, including statues discovered at the nearby archaeological site Ain Ghazal, which are among the earliest large-scale representations of the human form, and thought to be among the most remarkable specimens of prehistoric art from the pre-pottery Neolithic period, approximately 9,000 years ago. Hey, I just want to jump in here real quick to clarify something regarding the Citadel site. Wendy and I recently watched season 34 of The Amazing Race, and during the segment in Amman, Phil Kogan repeatedly refers to the Umayyad Palace as the Citadel. So just to be clear, the Citadel's the entire fortified hilltop, not just the building with the blue dome. Okay, all right, back to the video. After the Citadel, we took a circuitous route back down to the hill, through neighborhoods and down several of the long, steep staircases. If you've seen our Sekatong video, you remember how many dogs there are on Lombok? Well, in Amman, it's cats. They are everywhere, which means going anywhere on foot with Wendy takes forever, since she can't pass a cat without stopping to pet it. We hung out at the hotel for a little while, relaxing on the balcony and considering where to have dinner. Our host, Kaza, had given us this map when we checked in, and had underlined a couple of places he recommended. So we decided to check out a restaurant called Zorba that wasn't too far away. It was during the walk to Zorba that we learned an important lesson about being a pedestrian in East Amman. Don't stand near the curb unless you're wanting to hail a taxi. I swear, we would just be standing there trying to get our bearings or waiting for a chance to cross the street, and a cab would show up out of nowhere, blocking traffic while we tried to explain in English that we didn't need a ride. Again, keep in mind how vertical this part of the city is. It's not as steep as San Francisco, but it's also not just a leisurely stroll. We enjoyed Zorba. I remember that I had kofta, which is pretty simple but very tasty. Skewers of ground beef and lamb, seasoned with fresh parsley, onions, garlic, and spices. In this case, served in tahini with fries. I can't remember what Wendy had, but it's safe to say it probably involved lamb in some way. Seeing that it was still the weekend, the streets were pretty busy again during the walk back to the hotel. Once there, we turned in early in preparation for an early start the next day. After breakfast, we packed up and met Muhammad III downstairs. He worked at the hotel, but also had his own car service, and we had hired him for the next leg of our journey. Little did we realize at that point what an excellent choice we had made, and what a critical role he would play during the rest of our time in Jordan. But that is a story for another day. It's time to wrap it up for now. I hope you're enjoying the Jordan trip so far. There's a lot more to come, and it gets pretty interesting. So if you haven't yet, make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell so as not to miss out on future content. It also makes a big difference to the algorithm, so we'd really, really appreciate it. In the next episode, we're heading for the Dead Sea by way of Madaba and Mount Nebo. It's a pretty short episode with a definite twist at the end that sends things in a totally unexpected direction. As is my habit, I will now leave you with our favorite quote from Mark Twain, encouraging everyone to get out and experience the world. Travel is fatal to prejudice, bigotry, and narrow-mindedness. And many of our people need it sorely on these accounts. Broad, wholesome, charitable views of men and things cannot be acquired by vegetating in one little corner of the earth all one's lifetime. See you in the next one.